Do not buy a camera without watching this entire video. I promise I will save you time, money, and stress because yes, I know this isn't an easy decision to make.
There's the age-old questions that people always ask. What camera should I get? What lens should I buy? What camera will allow me to be a better photographer? There's not a real solid answer to those questions because in reality, is gear really that important? This topic is also one of the biggest barriers when it comes to starting this creative journey. There's the worry that if you don't have a certain camera with 1,000,000 megapixels or a lens that with insanely shallow depth of field, you won't be able to take amazing photos. And that is honestly one of the most untrue things when it comes to creating. So really, one thing I've learned in my 10 plus years of shooting is that it's truly not about the gear that you shoot with. It's really just about the person that's behind the camera. Expensive gear isn't going to make you a better creator, because really all of that comes from like in here and developing that creative mindset. Like sure, expensive cameras have a lot of different features and like allows you to do different things, but at the end of the day, if you don't know how to utilize all of those features, it's not really worth the investment. I think the investment should be made in developing your creative mind and shooting with what you have. You don't need to invest in the most expensive thing for you to start. That is one barrier that stops a lot of people from even starting in the first place, is just not knowing what gear they should use. There's a lot of even just iPhone photographers. It's not as prevalent now, but back in the day there was just solely iPhone only photographers. I'm sure there's still a lot now. You know, back in the day people were iPhone only on like the iPhone 5 and they were still making amazing content, and that's just because they've developed their craft, they've developed their creative mind to a point where they really aren't hindered by their gear. My belief is that the best time to upgrade is when you've fully outgrown your gear and like what you're creating is actually hindered by the gear that you have. Then that's, for me at least, that's how I feel, that I know I'm ready to upgrade, and because I've squeezed out everything that I can out of what I'm using. Back in the day, I guess not back in, make me sound old, but before I started shooting on a Canon T3i, and I'd shot on that for a good chunk, even up in when I was in art school. I was shooting, I upgraded my camera during COVID, so that was about a few years ago, and I just started shooting on a Canon EOS RP, also still like a pretty basic mirrorless camera. I just wanted to try the mirrorless, and I love Canon. And even right now, like I know I still fall into the trap of I feel like I can't create something because of the gear that I have, but then I just kind of come back down to basics and just realize that again, it's not about the camera gear that you have, it's about how you use it. And so just something in me this year just decided, you know, like I'm just gonna go full force into this video thing. I started to learn that my camera is very hindering when it comes to video, but it still shoots video at the end of the day. Instead of, you know, going into debt and rushing to try to upgrade my camera, I would rather just again try to squeeze out and learn as much as I can on this camera, so that, you know, once I upgrade, I am fully ready and I feel like I have exhausted this camera that I'm using now to its full potential, and just, you know, realizing that like I'm not trying to make the gear be the barrier for me creating. And that's why I continuously been trying to just push out these videos with this camera. I have tried out, in my last video, I have tried out a Sony, which I absolutely loved. But again, at the end of the day, I still have a camera that shoots video, and that's all I need. That's all you need to start, is just a camera. It could be your phone, it could be a camera that's been handed down to you. Like, it doesn't matter, as whatever you have or whatever you can afford is, in my opinion, probably the best camera to start with. Yeah, so I figured I'd just try to scroll through my Instagram all the way down and see like everything I've created with my cameras that I have now. One thing that I would get actually more often than I would have expected, I guess, is that when I was shooting on the T3i, people would ask, you know, question when you're a photographer, just like, oh, what camera did you shoot that on? As if it really matters. But I would say the Canon T3i, which is like very beginner level camera, and the reaction would always be like very surprised of like, oh, like how are you able to create something like this on a camera like that? And again, it just comes back down to what I was saying, is just it's not about the camera, it's about the person who's behind it and what they do with it and how they utilize what they have. I find that being restricted in your gear, or being more strict in trying to squeeze everything out that you can out of what you have, will actually force you to be a little bit more creative. It will force you to figure out ways to do things that maybe your camera can't do, so you gotta be innovative, and maybe you gotta change things up or do something a little bit differently, but can still come up with a result that you're trying to aim for. And it's really just about realizing that you can, as a creator in photo and video, you can create whatever you want on literally any camera. I'm just scrolling down to try to get like one of my first photos and just show you guys like what I was shooting with here. So if you just have a look here, I'll overlay it on this side of the screen. But all of these photos right now were taken on my T3i, minus the film ones that are here. All my New York stuff was taken on my T3i. And yeah, all this is still T3i minus the film again. And yeah, overall, like, I feel like I am very happy with the results I was able to come out with and the things I made with this camera. I feel like I really squeezed everything I possibly could out of this camera. Let's scroll a bit more. Again, all this still T3i. I think right here or so is once I got my my new camera, started shooting more. Oh, yeah, still shooting. So when I got my new camera, and still very happy with, like, you know, how the things I've been able to create with this camera. I didn't really dive too much into video at the time, but now you can see all this is also all stuff. And then now this will be transition period to like my video challenge that I've been doing. This is all the videos I've been able to create, and I'm very happy with the videos I've been able to create on this camera. The only drawback for me is just, like, you know, I can't color grade it to how I would want it, or, like, you know, I don't get as much freedom, I guess, with creating on this RP, just because it doesn't have Canon log. Luckily with DaVinci, the free version, you're able to use Signon film log, which is really nice, and I've been using that to like color grade my stuff. I will be upgrading my camera in the summer, but again, I'm not in a rush. I still have a camera that I can create videos with, and you know, just excited for another chapter with a new camera. But until then, I'm still going to be shooting on my EOS RP, and then I'll probably just have this one dedicated to photos, unless I just, you know, stick with whatever I get. And yeah, I guess the message I'm trying to say in this video is that it's not about the gear. You don't need the most expensive gear. And also too, if you're shooting out something and you feel like your content and creations are not as good, I think it's all in your head, honestly, because you can, as long as you have something to capture, if you have a device to capture with that shoots video, shoots photo, then you're set. And you know, if you have like a platform like, say, Canon, Fuji, Sony that you love, you're worried about, you know, you feel like you want to be a bit more competitive, if you will, but you're like, maybe you're just starting out, I would say stick to what you know and stick to what you love, because at the end of the day, one of the things that could end up happening is you go from Fuji to Sony, and you end up not liking it, but now here you are like 4 to like 8 grand in the hole just because you want to upgrade, and you don't even like the platform of Sony, and you wish you never switched off of Fuji. And with that, I just say stick with what you love, even maybe if, like, you know, spec wise the camera might be better. Again, it comes down to like what is in here and what you can develop in here, and what you can develop in here to then translate through your lens is, in my opinion, the most important thing when it comes to this creative thing. This is just what I believe and what I've learned through my years of doing this, and, you know, not having the most top of the line gear. I'm still able to create. I still love what I make. I'm still able to create projects that I want, because honestly, like, if you do want to invest in something, go ahead and do it. Like, that's fine. But I guess what I'm trying to help you avoid is upgrading and then, you know, realizing it's not your thing. Trying to share my thoughts on, like, just enjoying the process of this, and you don't need to upgrade right away. You can take your time with it, enjoy what you're creating, enjoy creating in general. Because me personally, even though I've been shooting for many years, like, I've taken hiatuses and I haven't felt very creative at times. Just make sure you're having fun. Because as long as you're having fun, that's really all you need. So if you're still here listening to my rant and my opinions and, you know, just my little video on this, I appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to listen to me talk. Yeah, I don't know, I'm just very passionate about this creative thing. I love it. I love when people start it. I love when people are in their groove. I love to see people succeed. So, you know, if you ever want to start, if you don't know how to start, hit me up, message me. I'm an open door. I would love to get people into it, and I'd love to help people who might need help. I'm no expert, but I have been doing this for a very long time, and I do believe I have a certain skill set that would allow me to give some advice. With that, I will catch you next week for next week's video, and until then, subscribe if you liked it, if you want to see more, comment if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions, if you disagree with me, if you agree with me, I don't know, just anything. And yeah, I will catch you next week.